two of my staff are on there. That's where you're going to do some of the interviews tonight. So you can get some pictures of me there as well if you want. Get some of the other lads. That's a real nice little pub, that is.
Nervous now. It's positivity, positive force. It looks quite scary on first viewings, doesn't it? And then he talks, and everybody just like warms to him at that point. He just like starts talking, and then he's like, put the kettle on, and then he's like showing you how to make a brew. You know, 42 years old, aren't we? Made brews before, okay.
Welcome to another Liquid Bullet Productions. With us today we have Mr. Kane Pemberton. How you doing, mate? Good? Yeah. Alright, so we're just going to run through a bit of your history. We've got institutions, prisons, biker gangs, doorman, boxing, and now personal trainer.
Yeah.
Right, so can we just go back to the beginning where it started for you?
Yeah, let's go.
So,
where do you want to start?
So just right to the beginning.
Right to the beginning, I was born in a little town called Congleton, and both parents were addicted to heroin, so I ended up in the care system. That was how all the institutes started. I ended up in there.
What age was that from?
I ended up in I got took down to a lot of mother and baby units from age 4 onwards. I think it was when I was about 11 I ended up in the children's home system, and that was because of my behaviour more than anything else. And I ended up in them from there. It was mainly foster care before that, but none of the families could cope with me. So
you was a little terror, was you?
Yeah. So I ended up in the kids' homes from that. And but they were the kids' homes back in the day that was the bad ones that you know that Ofsted wanted to change and all that they couldn't do anything about. They've all been shut down now. Yeah. All the ones that I was in.
How did you find that treated you sort of as your upbringing?
Yeah, you grew up quick, didn't you? Yeah. You had to grow up pretty quick. And that was about it. That was where I first started boxing in the kids' homes. And I first started boxing at a gym in Chester with a bloke called Peter Buckley and Stevie Goodwin. They were the first people who taught me how to box when I was 13. And I went on from there. And I left the children's home when I was 17, 18. And then I got my first job by my friends at the gym as a bouncer. Right, after years of boxing.
Straight in at the deep end.
I left with no GCSEs, no nothing. I think I left with an E in maths. So I ended up just working on the doors, and they got me a job doing that. And that was how it all started. And I couldn't go back then. That was that was my only job. It was my only source of income, and it was pre-SIA, so it was. You had to actually be a doorman back in them days, not like...
So what sort of stuff did you come against on the doors straight away?
Well, when I was younger, I was it was the first time I was up against actual big men. Yeah. You know, it wasn't kids' home staff that were just restraining me, this was big blokes, and I went straight from being a kid to working on a nightclub. I'd never even been out drinking before. So that was like a big eye-opener, and I got put with some really experienced people back in the day, so they taught me how to do the job properly. Yeah. So that was good, really, that they did that. And it was just fun back in the day, weren't it? It was more
like having a night out as well, and earning money at the same time.
Yeah, you had to. Your job back in the day was you had to be one of the hardest blokes in the pub, and if you backed down from a fight, you'd lose your job. And that was you wouldn't be working the next week. Yeah. So that was how it was, and I remember my first fights against bigger people, and I worked to a guy called Russ Williams. He's dead now. He was one of my good mates, and I remember a guy. The first proper fight I was into was he was a big skinhead, and he had all his face tattooed. And he looked dead scary. I didn't have any tattoos at the time, and he looked dead scary, and everyone was scared of him around the area. And then my mate who I was working with says, oh, just look at his build. He said, do you think he trains? Well, he doesn't look like it. He goes, I'll just go and smash him then. So, and I did, and I was surprised how easy it was to put this guy down who everyone was scared of.
Yeah.
And then that's how it started then. It just became like a competition to me of, you know, can I do this guy? And that was it became more enjoyment as well, and it went from there, and that then led on to the other crimes then, didn't it? Cause
so where did the first sort of crime path start going down the wrong path?
Do you know what, the crime path started as a kid, because when you were living in care, what used to happen back in the day was if you broke anything or anything like that, they'd have to get you arrested, so they could claim it back on the insurance. So you're leaving there with a criminal record no matter what. So I remember a lad got arrested once for breaking up on the baubles off a Christmas tree.
Really?
And this was on Christmas Eve. They had him arrested for that. You know, so that was nice. So my criminal history started at the young age, and it was over stupid stuff like something breaking, a window going through, the staff having to restrain me, so that was automatically an assault on the staff. Yeah. So you're leaving there with 10 convictions to your name already. You're never convinced not to plead not guilty or anything when you're young. They just say, plead guilty, nothing will happen to you.
How did the staff treat you back in them days? I've heard other stories.
Do you know what? Some were good.
Oh, really?
Some were good and some were arseholes.
Yeah.
But that's like anyone, isn't it? You always remember the arseholes, don't you?
Yeah.
And you don't forget them. But there's been some decent ones. I still speak to one of them now, called Damo. He's a good mate of mine, Damien Heston. And he was always brilliant, and he did all the outdoor pursuits with me, and outdoor education, because I struggled with school, so he did that with me. And I still speak to him now. He's still one of my mates now. Yeah. So he's decent, but there was others who weren't decent. Yeah. Well, that's the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see anything in there that, like bullying and stuff with the other?
Oh yeah, of course was it. Yeah, it went on for years, because you were in places with kids who you had 12-year-olds up to 16-year-olds in there. Yeah. So of course it went on like that, but I sort of had to fight at a young age, so it wasn't like through choice that I did it, because naturally I didn't like fighting. Yeah. And then, but all of a sudden I had to, or it weren't going to work. So I had to do that, and that was how it happened. I never really got bullied by anyone as such, because I always sort of stood up for myself, but I sort of had to, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Did you see much bullying going on in there from others?
Oh yeah, of course there was. Yeah, there was loads of it back then. I was saying on something else. One of my first experiences in the kids' home was there was a girl there, and I walked out onto the landing. This was a kids' home back in the day called Priors Hill. It's shut down now because of the reports. But I remember my first week in there. I walked out of my room and she threw something at me, and it hit me. And I think this girl was like 16. And I was only 13, maybe younger than that. And it rolled down my top, and I thought, what the fuck was that? And I caught it, and she'd cut in her arm on an angle and pulled a chunk of skin out and threw it at me. Oh. And it was like, you just threw a piece of skin at me, mate. What the fuck's wrong with you? But these were people who were like, they've been locked up and repeatedly raped by the parents and only been found when they were 15, stuff like that. So these people that were in there were fucking puddled.
Dealing with their own mental...
Yeah, but they never had any like help for people like that at the time. If you were just naughty, they just, you were a naughty kid, and that was the answer to it. There was never, now you've got the diagnosis with everything, and people offer help with everything. Well, they didn't back then.
No,
it was more you punished. If you were naughty, you'd just be punished, and that was the way it went. So you had to rebel against it, didn't you? And I found that rebelling was the best way, because I'd always get what I wanted when I started kicking off. And that was I learned pretty quick that to get my own way, I had to just be a problem. Cool. And then I got my own way. So that was the only way to do it. If you were nice, you wouldn't get your own way.
So what sort of age did you you obviously joined a biker gang, is that correct?
Yeah.
What sort of age did you come into this, or how did you get into that?
That was when I was older. I was working on the doors when I was 18, and I was doing that for a few years, and then I got into a bit of trouble. I got sent to prison. I ended up doing 4 years inside.
Can we just go into that for a little bit? So step back to the prison.
Yeah. Well, I got it was just me being involved with the wrong people again, weren't it? And just doing what I used to do, and it was just, to be honest, I needed it, because I needed that sort of thing to stop me, because I was going to sort of go too far down that road, because I was fighting every week. I was getting away with whatever I was doing, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. Every week I think something worse was happening.
Yeah.
And it was just, there was no stop button with me when I was that age. And there was that, I didn't have anyone for guidance either. That was the other thing. So I had no one telling me, don't do this, don't do that, it's a bad idea. It was just me going, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I was doing it, and it was like the stupidest thing you can imagine. If I look back now and I think, how the fuck did I used to do that? I wouldn't even dream of doing something like that now. I used to think I wouldn't even have the bottle to do anything like that anymore. And now, but I see that now and I think, fucking hell.
Give us some examples. What are we talking about here?
Oh, there was times before when there'd be like 8 guys outside the club trying to start me, and I just put 2 knuckle dusters on, locked the door behind me so they couldn't get in. Just go, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, I'd gone through people's front doors when they'd kicked off at me at work. I'd go around their house the next morning. And now I look back and I think, fucking hell, I wouldn't dare do that now.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if it's growing up, but you'll just become an adult.
Yeah.
And become sensible now. But I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it like that. But from someone who come from that, I didn't even like fighting or violence to go into that extreme then. If you know what I mean, I needed that sentence to just.
I think
stop
once you
me
get
in
involved in that sort of stuff, though, it grows, doesn't it? Like, what you thought was bad suddenly doesn't.
Yeah,
like the goalpost changes.
Yeah, it does. And I got the 4 years inside, and I did that, and I didn't mind prison. When I was on my way there, I thought to me it was just like another adventure. You know, it didn't bother me.
Yeah. What was the actual sentence you got for that?
I was originally charged with kidnapping and robbery, armed robbery, and I beat him up while I had hold of him as well. So I got done for the ABH for that as well. Most of the charges got dropped because he was. We went to tax him. He was just he sold heroin. He come down to the town I was from, and he started kicking off down there. So he'd upset me for other reasons. He'd upset someone else for other reasons. And in the end, 4 of us just got together, and we hardly knew each other. And we just said, let's all just go get them together now. So we went and did that, and what was going to be a fight.
How did that pan out, or how did that?
Well, my plan was just to do him in, because I was the boxer, so I was the fighter out of that group. So my plan was just to do him in, and the 2 people I was with, they wanted to tax him. So I said, will you just do what you're doing? I'll just do what I want to do. And there was no plan as such to it.
So where did you find his whereabouts? And
I went to his house.
He went to his house.
Yeah, I went to his house.
Took him from his house.
Yeah, well, he come out and he got in his girlfriend's car and they drove off. So we followed him to a set of temporary traffic lights, and I got out and punched through his window, and I pulled him through his window. He had his door locked, and then beat him up in the middle of the road. And an ambulance come past at the time, and I witnessed it. And then thinking to myself, I can't let him go now because the shit's going to carry on with him, and he's just going to say you bottled it, so I just threw him in the car.
Oh, and so took him in the car.
So that turned into the kidnapping then.
Yeah.
I was chased by the ambulance for a bit, and then we lost that. But the police had shut off each end of this road that we were on. Caught us 20 minutes later. I was covered in the guy's blood, and there was no way out of it really. He made a 6-page statement against me.
Red-handed.
Yeah, he made a 6-page statement against me, and I ended up getting 4 years for it. So what turned out to it was just going to be a fight ended up in a big kidnapping, and then and a big sentence from it.
Yeah. What prison did you go to for that?
I went to Alt Course first in Liverpool, and then Stokey for young offenders. I lasted in open prison a week before I hit someone in there.
Yeah.
And I got moved from there to Risley, and I ended up doing I think it was 9 months in Risley, possibly. Yeah. I'd done 8 months on remand as well.
How did you find the prison system, or adjusting to that?
Do you know what? It was all right.
Yeah.
It was the same as I was used to. It was just a different routine, wasn't it? Yeah. You know, like breakfast, dinner, tea, gym. Yeah. That was all it was. So it didn't bother me. So it was just another day to me. It was just more the time, and it gives you time to think as well, doesn't it? Because you're locked up for Risley, you were locked up for 23 hours a day. Back then, they hardly had any jobs in there, so you were banged up for most of your day anyway.
Yeah.
So I spent most of my time in there, and you just sit about, and we didn't have many channels on the TV either then. No. I think we had 5 channels and the Viva music channel. So there was nothing on the telly, so you just had a lot of time to do what you wanted and just think about stuff. I got into artwork again, so I started doing a bit more of that, and that was about it really. That was my sentence. Yeah. And then the bike gangs come just after this, because I come out of prison and all of a sudden I'd lost my door licence, I'd lost my boxing licence, and then I'd lost my boxing coaching licence. Yeah. So all of a sudden everything that I did for work had gone.
Been taken away from you.
But it was everything I enjoyed as well. So like that, the social bit of me working on the door with the lads and having the laugh with the lads had all of a sudden gone. And then I got out of prison, and most of the people I worked with had retired because they were that old school generation.
Yeah.
The SIA had come into force properly by then, so a lot of them had left. So when I come back out after them 2 years, you think it's not a long time, but you look and you think, fucking hell, how much has changed?
Yeah.
In that, everything's gone. So and I was dead bored. And I knew one of my mates who I worked for him on the door was in this motorbike gang, so I ended up. He always used to speak to me when I was inside. He used to write me letters and stuff like that. I only knew him as my boss, so I didn't think he'd ever bother with me when I got sent down. But he used to write to me every week, send me money in every week.
Oh, nice.
And when I come out, I thought, well, that's the only next option, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is to do that. So I ended up doing that, and that again was another one of the big mistakes of my life. Right? It just seems that I don't learn from these things that I do. So I ended up doing that. I think I was with them for only 7 years before I ended up leaving.
So, Gareth, can you just tell us a little bit more about sort of bike gangs? Obviously,
Well, it's
a little look into side of what goes on and what they do.
I think a lot of it's hyped up these days. To be honest with you, I think because they have that element of secrecy about them,
Right.
But things from my point of view were a bit different. I just seen a lot of people backstabbing each other all the time, and it's and then I seen the same problems with what goes on everywhere else. As soon as money or drugs become involved, everyone's loyalty changes, and there's stuff like that. Ironically, the pub we're in now doing the interview, a lot of my friends got sent down from a fight in here.
Oh, really?
That we had. It was in just a beer garden over there, and when everyone was inside, there was no support for anyone, nothing like that. So that was why a lot of us in the end left. So when I joined the motorbike gangs, it was like everyone was like a strong group together, and that just fizzled out over years to me, and it wasn't the same as when I joined. I think it's like gyms. I remember my old gym. It was at Heavy Hitters in Chester, and now I want to go to a gym like that again. And you're always looking for that, aren't you?
Yeah.
You can't. Nothing's the same as when. If it changes, you don't like it, do you? So it's the same as the gym. Once things started changing, I couldn't go back to that. And then they've had members there, like I say, who were just fucking deputy headmasters at primary schools having a midlife crisis. Who were just coming out and pretending to be fucking hard. Yeah. And it used to really wind me up. And even the one I'm on about, for example, in here, this fight that was in here, it was the fat girl who was having the affair with who the fight was caused over. And he fucking ran off. You know what I mean? We didn't see him in the fucking fight.
Can you talk us through the fight, a little bit more details in the fight?
Yeah, there was the teacher was having the affair with these 3 fat women. Right. One of them was at the bar, and she got a purse stole off the bar by some kid, and he ran for the door over there, and he knocked over a DJ. So one of my best mates, George, he left the club with me as well. He's one of my good mates. Jumped up and cracked this lad, and he fell outside, and so we didn't know what was going on, so we walked out after him. Now, the headmaster on his midlife crisis, sticking up for him, fucking walks out the front door, disappears to go count his feet somewhere, like he used to do when it kicked off. Yeah. That was all he used to seem to do. He's always having a piss, or doing something like that, or counting his shoes 50 times outside. He was never involved in any of the stuff you needed to do. Just happy live off the reputation of others, which I didn't agree with. And so we're outside, and all the customers thought that we'd turned on one lad. So all the fucking customers turned on us, didn't they? And so we end up fighting with a few of them. I come back inside, and some lad ran out to fucking hit me from behind. And one of my guys has gone behind him, and he slashed him across the face, and he got 18 months for it. George got 18 months for it, but he got his suspended. But then he ended up with a fight with a keyboard warrior, Doorman, who was saying they're all cowards and never fight one-on-one. So my mate George chins this doorman in town, and he ran to the police as well, so he got George. George got me called on, he's suspended, so he ended up doing 18 months as well. So that was just from this little pub. I think in total they had reported, I think it was 87 violent offences from us in the space of a year, and that was probably the group of 4 of us that did all that.
How big was the bike gang? How many
it was big, but there was like in that.
Is it all from the same area, or they all come from?
No, they're all different places, but there was in like it's the same with in any group, isn't it? You've got people who do certain things, haven't you? So there was like probably 5 or 6 of us who were up for doing like naughty stuff and fighting, and then you'd have a lot of older people who didn't want to do that, which is fine, and then you'd have some fucking grasses who would just run out of pubs and not join in at all. You know what I mean? So you've got that as well. So, but you have that everywhere, don't you? I can't really slag them off because there's some decent lads in them, but there's certain ones that have let it down over the years.
I think that's the same with any sort of group, isn't it?
Yeah,
you get your main sort of strong characters.
Yeah.
You can count on one hand.
Yeah.
Who are faithful and loyal, and the rest.
Yeah, that's it.
Just have to filter out, don't you?
Yeah, they do. But that was it, and then it was even that had to come to an end, didn't it? You know, it was like this can't carry on this. So I ended up stopped drinking, and I started training again because I remember got into a fight outside there, and I hadn't trained for ages. And I remember someone bought me a ring, and I've never worn rings or anything like that, and I had this like beer belly, right, which I've never had before, right, and I got into this fight out there. I don't know what had happened, but the lad comes walking out of the bar and he had a glass in his hand. I think one of the lads had hit him outside and he was going to swing this glass ring. You know, you can just sort of see it coming. I thought, you're going to have to get one now. So I fucking hit him before he swung the glass. And we ended up fighting in this doorway. I hit him 6 times and I thought, why the fuck hasn't he gone down yet? I thought, normally people have gone by now. And then I thought, he looked up and he's cut all over his face for that fucking ring. So he ended up dropped my knee in him, out of all things. After I'd done it, I had this massive burp, you know, like, and I threw up, you know, the minute I could take a breath, I threw up and I thought, oh, I can't live like this, this has got to end, this has, so I thought, I'm going to have to stop drinking. And then I fought in the cage the following week after this, and I was overweight, and I was still taking on fights, but I wasn't training, I would go in there, just have a scrap, and I look like Tank Abbott. I think I'm like 5'5", and I think I weighed 13 and a half stone. I had this belly on me and everything, but I'd still just go in and fight because I didn't care. And I just used to enjoy it. But then I thought, after the burp out there and I threw up, it was just after this lad hit the deck, I threw up and I thought, fucking hell, if that had gone on for longer, I'd have been fucked. So I thought, right, it's got to change this. So I stopped drinking then, and I thought, right, back into training, and now I've trained solidly for 2.5 years now, and not drunk anything, not done anything like that, and had this big life change. So I've done that now, and I've been going strong for the last 2 years.
How are you finding the change now from your past?
Good, because it's given me a lot of experience to do what I do now. Because a lot of people have qualifications on paper, don't they? And that's I think it's a load of crap in the world of like fighting, because when I used to box and I started working the doors, I used to get into a lot of fights, and I'd always end them pretty quick. But then you start thinking, what if I don't need to fight and I just need to take someone out of this pub without hurting them? And then, all right, say he's 4 stone heavier than you, and you can't really justify knocking him out now. You know, so you start thinking along the lines of that, and so then I had to start training in other stuff. So then I started Thai boxing, I started doing bits of wrestling and stuff like that, and that was what it sort of all brought it together into one thing for me, where it was like one little system I'd train that was a practical skill for what I call self-defense. And I knew from all the fights I had what I used, you know, as like the instinctive shots that I'd use straight away. And I watch people teaching stuff for self-defense, and I think you've never had a fucking fight in your life. Stop teaching it. You don't even know. You know, so they don't prepare.
That's the thing,
for it.
isn't it? Like, you know, when people teach you self-defense stuff, they're just mimicking the moves. They're not actually in a real situation.
That's it. I take into account, like, you know, how you'll feel. Adrenaline, for example, if you're scared, because I know we all get that feeling when we fight, but if people don't want to admit it, then they're never going to move forward from it. You know, and you've got to sort of address all that before you can address what's going to happen.
That's right. It's a lot like a stage fright, don't it? Some people just freeze.
Yeah, that's it. And
it's learning to be able to overcome them.
It's doing that, and it's learning what's going to work. So when it was all what I took into like what I call martial arts was my experiences in it. And I remember I've been boxing, and then I go to wrestling for a bit, and it was sort of broken up between a few different sports. And then I remember one time I went into a fight with 3 guys at a petrol station, and it was always something stupid. And there was one of them who was really big, and he ended up pressing me against a wall, right? And he was hitting me on the top of my head, and it weren't doing anything. But he had his mate throwing punches at me from the side, and instinctively I knew if he's throwing this uppercut, I knew that side of his face was over to throw a punch, and I don't know if it hit him or not because I couldn't see, but he didn't punch me again after it. And then I sat there looking at him, and I thought, oh, the minute I get a gap, you're fucking dead. And I got this gap, and I hit this guy who was on top of me, and he went down. And I got out of there, and I thought, I was looking at everything. Why didn't I knee him? Why didn't I throw an elbow? Why didn't I do it like that? And because I hadn't trained it for so long, it just sort of slipped my mind to do it again, if you know what I mean. So now I keep everything dead practical. So there's certain bits of Thai boxing I won't use. I won't teach people because you don't use them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, the clinch work. Are you going to stand there circling around with someone throwing a knee, or are you just going to ram the head on a wall? Because I know what I'm going to favour.
Yeah.
You know, so train to do that.
Yeah.
So everything I did was from practical life skill that I've done, and
more than the sports side of it.
Yeah, I can tell them where it happened, why I didn't do this, why I didn't do that, you know, or why this happened to me, what I did wrong, you know, stuff like that. And a lot of them miss that these days. They don't have that anymore. So I think that's what's made me different. And it sort of ended up a fluke me training people again, to be honest with you, because I was pretty unsocial when I left everyone, and I didn't know how to associate with people. But then I ended up through. The start of it was this lockdown, people mithering me to train them because they wanted to do pad workouts in the park, and that started out as me agreeing yes to one person just so I could train myself. Ended up me training 10 people in the park, near enough every day. And I thought, fucking hell, I need to get a little place now, you know, to do this from. So I ended up getting a little gym, didn't I, for myself, and then it grew from there. And it was just, now I have like, my PTs are booked all week. You know, I've got Jayan here, who you've met. He just won his first fight Sunday, you know. So I got him through that. He's going to fight again for us now. Yeah. So, but even him, he trained in MMA.
How do you find that now you're helping others and making them achieve their goals? Does that make you feel better about yourself?
It makes me feel better because I think I missed my chance to do it. Yeah. Because when I was boxing as a junior, there was I trained with a guy called Pete Buckley. He was like my coach from when I was 13 upwards till that age, and he made me really good. Then people at that gym made me really good, but they made me really good in a way that I was good for work as well, you know, once I left that gym, and that was how it worked. But then when I got sent to prison, I think that your best time to fight is between 18 and in your 20s, isn't it? That's the time when
your body recovers.
Yeah, that's when you do your most fights and you can win your stuff. So I missed that because I was inside. Yeah. So then you come out from 2 years of just deteriorating in Risley. You know, you're not the same fighter again. You know, it don't matter what anyone says, you don't have that youth anymore, and that desire to win anything's sort of gone. That's been took out of you. Yeah. So I tried again to fight. I fought in the unlicensed boxing quite a lot, and that was just because I needed the money, to be honest with you, at the time. So I was fighting in that, but I was going in, I was telling you before, I was going in fighting injured. I'd fight with a broken hand some nights, and it felt like I was hitting people with a sponge. You know,
going in more for the weight rather than
that was
the
it.
win
Yeah, it was like, oh, 500 quid for 3 rounds, I'll do that. You know, and so it didn't. But winning or losing never bothered me. I did enjoy fighting as the sport. It was just I didn't. Every time I ended up fighting in the sport, I'd either just come out of a prison sentence, I was very unfit, you know, and I hadn't trained for it or something like that. Yeah. And so I just thought, you know, I hit my 30s, and I just thought, you know, I'm not going to go anywhere in them sports anymore, but it doesn't stop me taking them to do that now, you know, at that age, because that's what they're doing. Like he's capable of doing that now. I can't do that anymore. So you've just got to sort of accept that, haven't you? And just you've missed your day, you know, move on.
It's good to help someone else.
Yeah, stop trying to chase a dream that you can't do anymore, if you know what I mean. And that was more it. So I started him off. He does like the MMA with me and all the stuff that what I call martial arts, and it's just I don't have a name for it. It's just martial arts to me, and it's what I class as martial arts. It's not Thai boxing. It's not boxing. It's just what I do. Mix. And I got him his first fight in boxing because I knew that that'd be the best route for him to go down, was to have get over that fear of walking into a ring where it's going to be a safer environment. He can't get as hurt, and that's what he's done. We trained him for that fight, and he won his fight 3rd round knockout, and so we've done him that. And you know, considering when he first come to me, you know what I mean, he come to me like he didn't like getting hit. He'd jump away from you, stuff like that. And now there's a look where he is now, and we're only 6 months in, you know. So he's doing brilliant with that as well. Yeah. So that's
just a quick question for your own benefit. When we go back talking about the biker gangs, did you used to find you see it on the telly, on the films, like the groupies with the girls that follow you around and stuff like that?
You know what, right? There was, right, but they weren't as good looking as the ones in the films, right? I mean, some of them were absolute fucking pigs that some of the lads used to go with, and they were fucking horrible, you know. So I can't. No, there was no nice ones. There's probably just as many police informers. There's probably just as many of them. There's probably more of them than there is nice women. I'll give you that one. There's that about them, yeah. But that's about it. Well, it's not for me anymore, mate. Yeah. I think I'm a better person now, mate. Yeah.
Are the bike gangs still live and still happening? You've just stepped away, or
do you know what? I still know one of them. Some of like my good mates are still in other bike gangs after they left.
So the ones we were in, still alive.
Yeah, so I still speak to them, you know, and I'm still good mates with a few of them, and I think I always will be because I knew some of them before bike gangs as well. Yeah. So I don't think that friendship will ever go away. So and when we all left together, I think that was a sign of what good friendship our group had. If that makes any sense too.
What's the worst sort of situation stands out in your mind that you sort of come across?
I think the worst situation is I think it's all of it as a whole. Do you mean like in like the entire life or in that gang?
Yeah, I mean like in your sort of like your life, what sort of stands out in your mind as sort of the worst thing that sort of comes to the top of your head? Sort of worst situation you've been in?
The worst situation, I've been in some pubs where I thought to myself, I'm going to die tonight. And I've walked away unharmed. And I think, how the fuck has that just happened? Yeah. You know, there's been things like that. There's been fights before where they've had like quite a lot of guys with broke bottles, weapons, you name it, and you just think, fucking hell.
Did you ever use weapons yourself, or more of a
never,
fist fighter?
Do you know what? I've always used my fist because I've carried stuff like knuckle dusters before, but then I've found that when it kicks off, I forget they're in my pocket. Yeah. So I just think, so I just think I'm wasting my time carrying it. If I walk home and get pulled, I'm gonna get a sentence from that. Yeah, cool. And I've never even used it in my life, you know. And it's still so fortunate. I'm not gonna take anything out with me now. Yeah. I train with weapons, you know. So I still train with weapons, and then I train you to get weapons off people, stuff like that. And I have a particular way of doing that because I know how I've took weapons off people before, and that wasn't from me training some weapon defence for 10 years. That was all telegraphed. It was a spur of the moment. I had to do it quick. So I had no way of training to deal with a weapon until it was put in front of me that day. And I knew what I did. And then I knew what I did the next time. And every time I did it, it was the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So I could train 100 different ways to do it, and I would always revert back to that way that I did it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and like muscle memory.
That way that I did it was, to be honest with you, I never even noticed they had the weapon. I was too busy smashing them. So I just think the minute you start paying attention to it is when it becomes a problem. You can end someone pretty quickly if you know what you're doing. Yeah. So if you just minimise the damage, what it's going to cause, and that's what I tend to tell people now is don't think you're some fucking Superman who's not going to get hurt. Let's just minimise where you're going to get hurt. That's about it. And let's just concentrate on what we do. You know, let's use punches, elbows, and kicks, and let's get it finished as quick as we can. Yeah. You know,
going back to the bike gangs, obviously when you shoot in the films and the American TV, They always carry a lot of weapons, chains, this, that, and the other, don't they? Did your gang sort of do that or not really?
Yeah, everyone carries weapons.
Yeah.
Everyone does these days. But again, it's like, fucking, is there any point?
Is it more for show, or did they actually use them?
Do you know what I think it is when people carry weapons? And this is not just, this is in every bit going. I think it's more confidence that people don't have. So I think that's why they feel the need to have them.
Like more as a sort
of where the
show as a defence mechanism.
Well, do you know what? When we were talking about this a lot with people recently, and we were talking about a lot of knife crime that's happening these days, and the problem is kids these days, right? They can't have a fight with you, so they'd never dream of fighting someone like us, but if they stab us, we'll go down pretty quick. That's what they base it on now. A lot of these kids, because they're scared of fighting, they're carrying knives. So the people who they're falling out with are also carrying knives. Yeah. So then that's a catch-22. They've got to have a knife because they've got one. So much of that nowadays, kids getting stabbed at the age of 14. Yeah. And it's getting worse and worse over the years. It's the vicious circle of it that none of them, they all, because one's carrying it, the other has to. You know, and that's the way it is. Now, I'm not naive. Everyone will tell you, oh, you know, they're all this anti-knife crime and all this. But let's be honest, if someone was coming in your house and they had weapons, what would you do? You're going to fucking harm yourself, aren't you? That's natural life. That's what's going to happen. The only difference is, if I did it in my house, right, that's fine. They're doing it just to walk to the shop, right? And that's the problem, right? So I can walk the shop and not get stabbed, right? You know. So I don't know why these kids can't these days, because I can do it every day and not get stabbed. I'm fine.
Crazy,
so I don't know how that's gone from where it was to that, but I think it's a generation thing as well, isn't it? Because when I remember the generation where cocaine wasn't a big thing as well. Then all of a sudden I come out of prison and it's a fucking massive thing. Yeah. And that I was telling you about the fight I had in Stoke-on-Trent when and that was a big cocaine thing, and I couldn't understand why this lad hadn't gone down. why he was getting back up all the time.
Fueled him up.
Yeah, and that was why is that happening? Everyone's going, oh, he just took loads of coke. I didn't even know what fucking coke was. So what's that? And I didn't even know. But yeah, it was the same thing. So I think it's just a generational thing. And when they start giving them massive sentences for it, they should all stop. Yeah. But yeah, that's why they're carrying them now. But
so can we just ask you sort of the daily routines of a biker gang? What sort of things you get up to? What do you do?
Well, that depends what type of member you are of the biker gang. I mean, some of them's daily life probably involves speaking to police, stuff like that. But I can tell you about mine and George's daily life in a biker gang, if you like. And that pretty much involved us getting up, going to the pub, drinking the majority of the day and probably night, getting into as many fights as we physically could, causing as much trouble as we could, sometimes getting arrested. And then repeating the entire process again. And that was leaving Friday, probably not coming home till Monday, stuff like that. We'd go and ride to visit.
Did you go to different areas, locations?
We used to every now and then. But we classed this as like our area, so we always stayed round here because this was what we classed as ours.
So when you're out drinking all day, how does that affect your bike riding at the end of the night?
Well, do you know what? I don't condone it, but we used to do it. So I would say it was sometimes I don't remember how I got home, to be honest with you. I've come out some days from home, and like I said, I don't condone this at all, so I wouldn't do it anymore.
So you get up in the morning, look out your door and think,
I got up one day and I looked out. I thought, I'm gonna have to go to the pub and pick my bike up, right? And I opened my front door and I'd lay my motorbike down on the grass outside, right? I didn't even put it on its stand, stood up. I'd lay it down, and I thought, how have I even got that home? I don't even remember getting home, you know. So there was that, but we used to do some crazy stuff. There was we used to mess about with each other. I threw George off a bridge in Lim, a canal bridge, you know, and I used to ride home in mankinis and stuff like that, you know, just for a laugh, just because we were off our fucking heads. You know what I'm saying? I always used to it was just silly games like that, and we did just have a laugh with each other.
Was there a lot of banter involved in it as well?
There was. But yeah, we used to have a laugh. There was the group we had. We used to do a lot of fun stuff together, and it wasn't just the fighting was just one little bit of it, because we all had each other's back anyway. So we had we had these rules. It was one in, all in. So if one of us were fighting, we all were, and that was the sort of rule of it.
Do you ever get rival gangs as well, like other bike gangs?
Most of them do.
Or
yeah.
do you all sort of stick together?
No, most of them do. Most of them do rival with each other, but that's gone on for years and years. That'll never change that, because it just won't. You know, that's I don't even know why sometimes, but you just do. It's just, I think that's just part of the lifestyle, isn't it?
Did you ever go to them bike festivals where you have like thousands of people?
Yeah, we used to go to a few of them. Yeah, again, I used to try and just stay in my area, because I used to, when we said like this was like our area type thing, I wouldn't really, every time we left the area to go somewhere, something had happened in the area, you know. So I said, so I preferred, I preferred to stay here, and this where we are now was our local pub. Yeah. And this is where we used to drink every week, and then the police come in and raided it one night looking for us, and they found the old landlord, who was a fucking right knobhead as well, and they found 32 bags of coke in his jacket upstairs. Oh, and so he ended up losing the pub. The person who's got it now is brilliant. You know, there's no biker gangs in here anymore. There's nothing like that. It's just a dead nice pub again, back to how it used to be before all that. So you couldn't get better owners that are in here than they are now. Yeah. And so yeah, hopefully this now all that's gone, this will be a really nice place again now. Yeah,
turned it around. So you not only turned your life around, pretty much turned around the pub that you go in as well.
Well, no, that's the two new owners who have done that. They're going to make the pub brilliant again. There's like how it used to be, but without all the fucking idiots here.
Yeah, about the trouble.
Yeah. So it'll be a nice place, and all the artwork they've done's nice, isn't it? Yeah. Good. So. Have
you got any funny stories to tell us? Anything that stands out in your mind that's been comical?
Stands out in my mind as comical. There was George was telling me to tell you one, which was quite funny. We got George, one of my best mates, and we got and anything that's been naughty that's done, it's normally me and him that have been and done it. And one night we had this lad we were looking for, and it was we used to have these things where certain people, you'd beat them up on sight, you know, every time you seen them, and for something they'd done. And so this was one of them people who we'd seen in the pub. So I said to George, I said, you go in the other door so we can't get out, so now I'll go in this one. I said, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle, just make sure he can't run out that door. So George and some of the other lads have gone in one door, and I've come in the back door, and I've walked over, and one of the lads has already been over and hit him. So this fight kicks off then with some of his friends, and I'm walking in, there's a few people in my way, and there's these big old oak stools there, and this lad, he hits one of my mates, and George pulls him and throws him on the floor. And I see this chair, and I thought, oh, you can cop for this on the way in. I got this chair and I went to throw it at him, and George jumped on top of him as I threw it, didn't it? Oh, no. It fucking knocked George out, didn't it? Oh, no. He fucking rolls off him. That was one of the worst things I did to one of my friends.
Picking your friend up off the floor.
Yeah, I got him. Yeah, there was so that happened to him. That was a funny one that we did. I've had loads from over the years, you know, just on the doors and stuff like that. They were the mainly funny ones. Yeah. You know, that used to go on back in the day. There was I got hit in the head with a stiletto. I've got a scar from it from one of my mates. And
from one of your mates?
No, yeah. What he did was it's on this door. It was on this corner, and you could only see one doorman when you walked past. And two girls walked past who were Chinese, didn't they? And he said something to him, taking the piss out of him. They turned around and thought it was me, didn't they? So one's ran up and hit me in the head with a stiletto, and I didn't even know it was going to happen. It was just the hand come round the door, and the stiletto hit me in the head. What the fucking hell she just done? And I look out, and they're running down the street, and my mate's lying on the floor laughing, holding his stomach. He didn't even help me. That was another one. I've got a scar from that right in the middle of my head. That was one that they did. There was all sorts like that we used to get up to, you know, there's pranks on each other. There was all bad ones. So pretty much now you've turned your life around. You're not involved. Well, do you know what? I'm doing quite well now. I think it's been pretty. I haven't been arrested now for coming up to 5 years. I haven't been done, and so I'm doing well on that one. So I haven't been in trouble for that long. And that's about it. I plan on keeping it that way. And then I've got quite a lot of support at home. I've got a decent girlfriend who supports me with everything as well. So that's all you really need, to be honest with you. You just got to...
You just concentrate on your personal training.
Yeah, you've just got to have someone normal, who's like, not a fucking slag, not in it for their own gains, to say, hang on, just think what you're fucking doing here. Do you know what I mean? And that's...
And when you need someone to guide you.
Yeah, that's it. And then, as well, when you're in the nightclubs as well, you meet these women. We used to call them patch whores, and that was what they were called. And you get into trouble, and they used to find it funny, so they used to do it all the more, and then you used to carry on doing it because that was all the fucking thing, weren't it, back then? Yeah. But then you stop doing it all. You get with someone now, and they go, "What the fuck are you doing? That's stupid. Why are you doing that?" I'm like, yeah, do you know what? You're right. Yeah, I better not do that. So I've been doing quite well. She's dead sound with me, so I get, she helps me a lot. So she's been like a big support this last few years for me to do what I'm doing and to get to where I am now. And that's not financially or anything like that. That's just me as a person not being a dickhead anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's like I've had to grow up now. And I've just had to start being an adult now. And that's...
I think as well, if you get someone like your partner or something, the kids to look after, you think of them as well rather than yourself.
Well, that's it. Yeah, you've just got to. You have to just think of others, don't you, as well now, and stuff like that. Like I've got, he's going to win his next fight, for example. That's my next plan, is to get him through that next fight.
So what is the name of your gym you're running now?
I don't have a name.
You don't have a name?
No, it's called Sinister Combative on Instagram.
Yeah. And
that's just like the brand that I've created. So I'm slowly getting used to doing stuff online now, because no one's ever taught me about anything like that. I mean, I've just literally understood Instagram now, and I'm still struggling to understand it. So I get a lot of help with my online stuff and things like that. So I'm just gradually getting into that. So what my plan is soon is to I've got my brands now where I do me gloves and my pads and all stuff like that, and that's like the thing that I turned into a brand now. Yeah. And then I've got my PTs that I do at the gym, but my gym's literally open by like an invite, so if I hardly know someone, they won't be invited down to my gym.
So it's not an open gym to
yeah, no, it's not. I haven't had it like that. I want it more of a private place. I think this sport and what we do is a private thing. Yeah. So it's a personal thing, and you can't teach it in a class.
If anyone wanted to contact you,
they can contact me,
they can contact you on
Instagram. Sinister Combative, Kane Pemberton. They can contact me there. We're going to soon have a website. That's the next plan. And then there's going to be like online classes that you can do on that. So we're doing it's like a beginner's guide, to sport. So you can do, my plan was to set it up so you could buy like a block of lessons on there, for example. Yeah. And all it'll do is it'll teach you all the basics. So when you do go to an actual gym, to a class, you don't feel out of place. You can actually got a little bit of a starting point. So that's the next plan, is for us to look into doing that. But it all just takes time, because I just sit there looking at a computer going, what the fuck do we do now? And so I have to, the missus helps me with that, and so between work and everything else, we just try and get it done as quick as we can.
Anything else you want to tell us about before we leave?
We've got Giant fighting again. He won his last fight.
Locally, or?
Yeah, it was in Manchester, at Bowlers it was. And he's got his next fight coming up in probably 2 months, I think, 3 months. Yep. So his plan is to win that, and again he's raising money for that autism awareness again. So if anyone wants to look into that, give me a message. Yeah. Anyone wants to sponsor him now as well, give me a message. He's got another 3 fights planned before Christmas, as we're trying to get him on, and then I'm possibly looking at my own show in Warrington this next before Christmas, I'm thinking. So we're going to be putting on our first ever boxing show, which is going to be a good thing.
And a headache running it.
Not for me. My missus is going to have a headache running it. I won't have anything. I'll just sit back. But yeah, that's the next plan, is we're going to have our own show on this year before Christmas, as we're aiming for. It was going to be before, but this lockdown happened. So that's before Christmas is the aim. Giant's got another 3 fights before Christmas, so we should be on with things by then, and yeah. So all in all, everything's going well so far. But, cool. And I haven't been convinced to go back to a life of crime yet.
No, that's it now. New path. That's it. New way to go.
That's it. Try my best.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kane Pemberton.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming.
Hi.
It's just like like our naughty little brother. I'm dead proud to know him. I've seen him before when he was in a club, and the person that he was then is nowhere near how he is now. He's so giving. Before he was quite taken. Whether that's like how he's been, well, how he's grown up and stuff, I don't really know, but he tends to give back now, which is really positive to see. He's great. What he's doing with Jai is absolutely amazing. Taking a lad on at face value, training him and showing him how, you know, to direct your energy and stuff is just fab.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want anything for it, he's doing it for his own time, and there's nothing for Kane to gain other than seeing this lad move forward in life, and brilliant, really.
Yeah, he is. He's a big part of the Porters family already. Definitely we love him.
Yeah, we'll keep him a bit longer.
We will, definitely.
Oh, we love you, Kane.
We love you, Kane, we do. We do.
Both at the same time?
We love you, Kane.
Both at the same time?
We love you, Kane.
When I met Kane, I was training at a gym called Hard Labour, not far from here, and I trained ever since I was about 18 in that gym, ever since I decided I wanted to do bodybuilding, and after I finished that, I was 19 at the time. So I met Kane when I was around about 22 last year, and he was advertising his gym, and he gave me like the link to his Facebook page, so that's how I first met him. And since I've got Asperger's and other things, generally I'm not as judgmental because I don't see the person like, oh, he looks different or stuff. I'm used to, from a single parent household, like, and being the only child, like, okay, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm used to lots of different types of people, so I was like, okay, you know, like, I'm looking forward to getting to know new people. So prior to that, I started my real martial arts journey, because I got to like black belt in Taekwondo when I was 11, but I started my real martial arts journey last year at the start of January. I started training kickboxing, and what I noticed with a lot of the places was I spent a lot of money and did a lot of classes, and I was asking when can I fight, because that's what I was primarily wanting to do. You know, like, I want to learn as much as possible, get as good as this as possible. So I was like, so we made a bit of a compromise, like, all right, you can start boxing and then, you know, we'll work up to MMA and stuff. So recently, after, I think it's a couple of weeks ago, I did the fight, and it was a lot easier than I expected, but just like he says, there's a lot of stress involved, and I got to learn a lot more about myself, more so, but overall the process has been a pleasure, and you know, I'm more than happy to do more fights, more than happy for my birthday digs too, and yeah, overall I couldn't think of a better person to be almost like a bigger brother to me, so I thank Kane for that, and looking forward to training for life, you know. So thank you very much for watching.